This is TWiT.
All right, the long and winding road of Essential appears to be donezo. That's it.
I love it when you sing. I'm usually the singer. I'm so glad you're singing.
Well, you know, you can expect that probably never again.
Okay.
But there you go. How we got here is complicated. It's messy. And so we have Daniel Bader from Android Central joining us to work our way through the muck. You're going to get messy, so we don't have to, Daniel. Welcome to the show.
When it comes to Essential, it's always messy. It's been that
really
way from
is.
the very beginning.
From the very beginning. It's so great to see you, man. It's been a while. Thank you for hopping on. So let's start here. Were you personally surprised to hear from the company that they're closing up shop? Did you expect it? Did it take you by surprise? What do you think?
No, I think it was just a matter of time. You know, the company had been at the center of Andy Rubin's personal controversies. And I think when the company unveiled, or Rubin himself came back to Twitter late last year and unveiled the Gem, this like really long and skinny smartphone / smart home companion thing. We never really learned what it was going to be.
Exactly.
He was just completely railroaded by critics, you know, very, very upset that he would deign to come back into public view, given just how much scrutiny he'd been under. And that was that. I think the writing was on the wall. I think Essential needed more money. You know, they couldn't indefinitely continue to just to take Rubin's own money. And now that they were no longer a part of Rubin's playground incubator, they really didn't have a source of venture capital to work with. So they really they were hurting in terms of raising money, and nobody's going to give them anything else. So the writing was on the wall, and that's it.
So before there was Essential, there was Andy Rubin, who at one point, and still is, I guess Andy Rubin is still alive, so it's not like he doesn't exist anymore. But before Essential, in this story, Andy Rubin created Android. For all intents and purposes, he's kind of dubbed the father of Android, let's say. So he had quite a pedigree, quite a career prior to Essential. Things changed so dramatically for Andy Rubin. If you could summarize just real quick, like how that shift happened, and whether this should have been so easy to see all along that this would happen ultimately.
Yeah, so Andy Rubin left Google. He created Danger, which was a company that created the Sidekick, and that was released in, I believe, 2007, 2006. And Google came to see this as essential, fundamental part of what it wanted to do with the future of mobile, and purchased Danger. He then came on to lead the Android division and built it into what it is, or was, when he left the company in 2014, taking a massive $90 million exit package with him. Obviously, it was vested stock and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we didn't really know why he left. He left because he had transitioned out of Android. He was running a robotics division within Google, and it was believed that he was coming into conflict with a bunch of the executives at the company. But in 2018, the New York Times posted a very long and detailed history of his time at Google, along with claims of sexual harassment and misconduct that happened at the company, that eventually forced him out due to just repeated HR violations. And he started Essential in 2015 with the goal of sort of re-establishing himself as a leader in both Android hardware and software, but with a mind to expanding it into a smart home platform. So with the understanding that by 2017, when the Essential phone came out, the phone was really the center of your smart home. And he built it with that in mind. There was going to be a smart home companion product that they would release later on, which never materialized. But the Essential phone was well received, and it was a modular device that people to this day really like. It was beautifully designed, it was simple, and it received updates like the Pixel phones. And here we are, almost 3 years later, and the Pixel and the Essential phone just received its last security patch on February 3rd. So that is that. We are no longer going to see anything from Essential, including the Gem phone that I mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, and the Gem phone, that is such a curiosity. Because I remember when that came out, I mean, people were either responding and reacting to the oddity of the device itself and like, I just don't understand why long and thin device is better, like makes usability any better.
Did you see that keyboard? Oof.
They were either divided between that, but it did look different. And we're kind of in an era right now of smartphones where there is a little bit of curiosity around changing things up a little bit. And this certainly did that. So they were divided between that and the reaction to, but it's Andy Rubin and, screw that guy. Yeah. And I mean, there were a lot of publications who basically came out and said, like, we don't really care what you're doing. We're not going to report on it because of these allegations. So how fast things change. Now, did you have the Essential phone yourself? Were you a user? Were you a fan of it back when it first launched?
I did. I got the phone. It was interesting because Essential released it in the U.S. as an unlocked phone for $499. So it was a really attractively priced device. It was made of titanium, so it felt really sturdy. It had that modular 360-degree camera accessory that came with the phone as well in a bunch of pre-orders. So people were really excited about it. Up here in Canada, it was a TELUS exclusive. TELUS is one of the big three carriers up here. And in fact, it was, I believe, the last exclusive phone that TELUS ever released. So, just a little bit of a tidbit. They were really, really excited. One of my coworkers went down to Playground to actually spend some time with the Essential team and to meet Rubin and just go over why this was an exciting time for smartphones again, under his guidance. And, there was a lot of hope that this would revitalize this sort of Pixel-like, but not quite straight from Google smartphone market, right? Where we no longer had these cheaper Nexus phones that you could buy for $300-400, and maybe the Essential phone and its successors would fill that gap. And I think amongst people like us who love Android and really buy everything and anything, there was this hope that Rubin would have this grander vision that would come to materialize. But once that report came out of the New York Times, I think everybody saw that vision would not come to pass.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, it's kind of amazing when you think about, like, in the last 3 to 4 years from when we first started hearing about Essential, the amount of money that the company, had invested in it, hundreds of millions of dollars. And over the course of that entire time, literally all that we have is one single smartphone that was released 3 years ago and a whole lot of promises beyond that. But it could not survive under the weight of everything else, all of the external forces. Andy Rubin, I'm sure the marketplace has a lot to do with it. So many reasons why. Do you think we're going to see a return of Andy Rubin? I mean, considering his background in the smartphone world, there's history there that he can always attempt to try and tap into. But then we've also got, the very big sea of allegations around him and kind of his personal profile as far as that's concerned. Do you think we're going to see him kind of turn around sometime in a couple of years and try and do another smartphone?
So I have my personal feelings, which I can keep to myself, and I have what I believe is a an environment where some people are able to come back after these allegations, especially if there are no charges laid against somebody who has been accused of such terrible misconduct. I don't think we'll see Andy Rubin in the public sphere for a while, if ever. I do believe that his reputation has been tarnished to such an extent that very few people are going to want to give him money. Nobody's going to run out and say, okay, well, we want you to build another Playground or another Essential. We don't want you to incubate our companies again. He may get away with consulting behind the scenes, which we've seen a few times from men who have been sort of pushed into the background due to sexual harassment and misconduct allegations. But I do not see him ever coming back into this sphere and being a public face of tech or of Android in particular. It doesn't seem reasonable to expect that to happen.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. Daniel, it's so good to see your face, and I'm happy to get you on the show again. Daniel Bader, of course, Android Central, Mobile Nations. If people want to follow you online, where can they find you?
Well, I'm at JourneyDan on Twitter, and you can find the work of my amazing, amazing coworkers, of which Micah used to be one. I miss you so much, buddy.
Miss you too, pal.
At AndroidCentral.com, and iMore, of course, which is our place where all the iPhone things get talked about.
That's right. Right on, Daniel. Thank you for hopping on. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Up next, laser guns.
Pew, pew.
But for real.
Wait,
like
what?
real laser guns.
Do they make that sound?
No, I don't think they make any sound.
Oh, darn
I think
it.
they're totally silent, which makes a lot of sense, actually. But it would be kind of cool if they did. But anyways, we're going to talk all about it. It's complicated, okay?
Okay.